Hello all, this is Mr. Cozy, the one and only. So I'm going to be reading stories to you guys until I can figure out a better way to set all this up. I'm literally holding my camera up in front of this computer screen to scroll pictures. Now I know some of you have started the insect unit, but other of us haven't. So we're just going to start from the very beginning and learn all about insects. I'm going to read you out the story, and then you're going to go to your portfolios and you're going to look for a link to a Google Doc that will have your assignment. You will respond to the assignment into your DOJO portfolio. Okay, and there'll be some instructions for that on DOJO as well. But before we even get started reading, I want you guys to just think about some insects that you have seen in your own life or heard about. And I want you guys to think about what they have in common. Have you ever paid attention to how many legs they have? How many eyes they have? Have you ever paid attention to, how they move? Do they move quickly? Do they move slowly? Do they fly? I want you to just take a second to think about that. All right, let's find out some information about insects. Hello, boys and girls. I've been invited to join you today to talk about a very important subject, and that's me. Who knows what type of animal I am? That's right, I'm a fly. I'll bet most of you have seen lots of flies, haven't you? I'm told that you find us flies rather annoying. So I'm guessing that you've swatted out one of my billions of cousins at least once in your life. I'm wondering just how much you really know about us. For example, did you know that I can walk straight up a wall? I'll bet you can do that, right? I have thousands of tiny hairs on my feet that act like suckers. I'm a housefly, the most common type, but there are many other fly species on Earth as well. A species is a group of plants or animals that are alike in important ways. Horseflies, robber flies, fruit flies, gnats, and mosquitoes have many different species that all belong to the same group. Scientists group animals into different categories. What different kinds of animals can you name? I can name fish, snakes, frogs, birds, and insects. Flies like me belong to the largest group of animals on Earth. This group is called the insects. Insects are small animals with 6 legs and 3 main body parts. I'm going to read that one more time. Insects are small animals with 6 legs and 3 main body parts. We flies are insects, and we share the Earth with millions of other insects in many different habitats. I want you guys to say the word habitat. Habitats are the natural homes of plants and animals. Can you name a few? I can name deserts, forests, mountains, grasslands, and the tundra. If you don't know what a tundra is, tundras have a bunch of snow. You could even probably go to your Chromebooks or your internet devices and type in tundra into Google Images to see what it looks like. During the next few lessons, some of my fellow insect friends are going to teach you lots of interesting facts about insects that live in different types of habitats. We insects live all over the globe, everywhere except the oceans. Insects can even live in some very hot and cold areas. I'm going to read that part one more time. We insects live all over the globe, everywhere except oceans. We'll start today by looking at a meadow. Look over the field of alfalfa. Do you see any animals in this picture? It just looks like an ordinary grassy field without much going on, doesn't it? But don't be fooled. This field is teeming with life. I like that word teeming. The field is teeming with life. I want you guys to think about what that might mean. If you sat down in the middle of this meadow and closed your eyes, you would likely hear birds singing. but you might be completely unaware of the silent, hidden world of insects all around you. Many insects depend on plants to live. Many insects eat plants, and some lay their eggs on plants. The plant on which an insect lays its eggs and which provides food for its young act as a host and is called a host plant. Each host plant attracts different types of insects. Many insects would die without their host plants because they have developed very specific diet needs. Many meadow plants attract grasshoppers. Grasshoppers feed on leaves and stems of the alfalfa plant. Harder to find is the tiny leafhopper, but this wedge-shaped insect can slow down the plant's growth, turning it brown as it gets the nutrients from the host plant. Many insects, such as these tiny aphids, can damage entire meadows. Grasshoppers, leafhoppers, and aphids all are pests. Farmers are never happy when they discover on their plants these pests because they can destroy their crops, but not all insects are pests. Who knows what this insect is called? On the right here. That's right, it's called a ladybug. Did you know that ladybugs are some of the most helpful insects on Earth? They feed on aphids and the eggs of moths and beetles that destroy crops. Lacewing and ambush bugs also eat aphids, so farmers are happy when they see these insects. So one thing I've discovered so far is that there are some insects that farmers like to see, and then some insects that farmers don't like to see. I want you to think about why. From grasslands, let's move on to a forest habitat. Both cone-bearing evergreens and trees that drop their leaves each year in this forest. Many, like these pine trees, are host to a variety of bark beetles. These tiny insects can kill huge trees. How can that be possible? Bark beetles burrow or dig under the tree's bark, creating a series of tunnels in which they lay their eggs. Well, let's think about this. What does a tree need to live? By burrowing into the layer of wood beneath the bark, these beetles stop the flow of nutrients or food and water throughout the tree and often kill the tree. Lots of insects and their activity takes place overhead in the forest. But many insects also live on the forest floor. Can you think of any? Ants, you got it. Ants are one of the most common insects on Earth, and many live in the forest. Unlike many of us solitary insects that live on our own, ants are social insects that live in colonies or groups. Let's look at an especially interesting social ant that lives in the rainforest. This is an army ant. Army ants travel in big raiding parties that cooperate to hunt prey. They resemble or look like an army of soldiers as they move across the ground together in a large group like an army. These ants are known for swarming their prey all at once, which means that the swarm can attack a lot of prey at the same time. You'll learn more about ants another day, so let's take a quick peek at one more forest insect. This beetle is named for the long, large horn at the front of its head. Does this horn look like that of any other animal you already know? I'm thinking of a much larger animal. Yes, a rhinoceros. The rhinoceros beetle uses its horn for digging hideouts and finding food along the forest floor. Male rhinoceros beetles use the horn for wrestling with other males in an effort to win over a female in battle. The male that succeeds in throwing the other off a branch gets the female rhinoceros beetle. picture real quick for you. What kinds of insects do you think live in the coldest habitats? There are many types of flies on the tundra. This is a very cold habitat, including houseflies like me. This Arctic crane fly has amazingly long legs. And guess what? Adult crane flies have no mouths, so they never eat. Here's another fact about them that's not too surprising. They only live for a few days. Some insects are aquatic, meaning they live in or near water. Now remember, just because they live in or near water does not mean they live in the ocean. Here's one that you may have seen in rivers, ponds, or streams, and this is called a dragonfly. A few minutes ago, I told you there is one water habitat that does not support the life of insects, and that's an ocean. So keep that in mind. Let's look at the globe again. Is this Earth covered by more land or water? Look real quick. Do you see more land or do you see more water? That's right, water. Nearly 2/3 of the Earth is covered by water, and most of that water is in our oceans. Think about it. Oceans are the biggest habitat, yet no insects live there. But insects found on only 1/3 of the Earth's surface are still the largest group of insects on Earth. That's pretty crazy to me. Flies, grasshoppers, ants, caterpillars, beetles. These are all insects, yet they look quite different from one another. Different shapes, sizes, and colors. So what makes an insect an insect? You'll find out next time. In the meantime, be thinking about how a fly is like a grasshopper or a beetle is like an ant. That's it for the story. So I'm going to remind everybody one more time. After this, you're going to have to go to DOJO and you're going to follow a link to a worksheet. You're going to answer the questions to the worksheet into DOJO. There will be instructions on DOJO as well. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or one of your other teachers and we will be happy to help. Thanks.